Well, welcome everybody to this edition of T4R Podcast. This is number 2 for 2024. Nice to have you all with us. My name is David. I'm a T4R resident and I live in Tunbridge Wells. And guess what? Today we've got a bit of blue sky. Yippee! First time for absolutely ages. There we are. Also, I have with me Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi there, David. Yeah, hello everybody. My name's Mary. I'm the Customer Insight and Engagement Officer with T4R. And it's really nice here too. I'm in the lovely Somerset and there's a bit of sunshine, which is nice. I think we've also got a guest with us today, David.
We certainly have. We have Sam Stewart with us. Well, Sam, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself now. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi there, David, Mary and everybody listening. I'm Sam Stewart. I'm the Executive Director of Finance and ICT at T4R. I've been with the company just for under 5 months now, still relatively new. I live in London, which thankfully isn't raining, but maybe not as much blue sky as there is around the country. So in my role as Finance Director, I have responsibility for finance, IT, procurement, business assurance, quality assurance and governance. So it's quite a broad role. I've worked in the social housing sector for about 15 years and worked in finance more generally for about the last 22 years.
Brilliant, Sam. Thank you for coming and joining us today. It's nice to have you. And I bow down to all your things that you have to do. As a retired person, I don't have to do any of that now. So absolutely brilliant.
That's a long list, David, isn't it?
It is a long list, yeah.
Well done, Sam.
Right, fantastic. Okay, so Sam, basically because it's that time of year again, we're coming up rushing toward April and end of the financial year and all that. I thought we'd have a couple of questions to you about obviously the forthcoming rent increases, or perhaps by the time this actually goes out, they may well have started. So can you tell us then how the rent increases for the forthcoming year, how the percentage increase was arrived at?
Sure. So T4R is a registered provider of social housing, which means there are certain rules that we have to abide by when we're setting our rents. There's something called the rent standard that the government policy dictates, really. So the current one goes to 2025. And that says that housing associations like ours can set the rent increases at the CPI, which is the rate of inflation, at September the previous year, plus 1%. So that's the maximum. And this year, September's CPI was 6.7. And so with the additional 1%, that makes it 7.7, which is what you will have all seen in the letters that you've hopefully received by now.
Yeah, fantastic. Do the additional 1% that you've already mentioned, are there any other amounts that add on top of the rent increases, or is that it?
Well, rents only, that's the maximum that we can apply. It's quite a complicated formula that the government set a long time ago, and the rents that are being charged on the property that you live in are based on a formula that goes all the way back to 1999. But the annual increases can only ever be in line with that formula. So there is nothing else that we can do. The only thing that we could do is charge less, but we can never charge more than the rent standard at that time. And it has been through different iterations over the years. So there was a period of 5 years that it was frozen. Not frozen. It was 1% reduction. And then and way back a long time ago, it used to be the RPI plus 0.5%. So there's a change on the inflation measures. But as we are now up until 2025, so the end of next year, it can only be CPI plus 1.
Fantastic. Well, you've already mentioned that the rent increase information has been sent out to residents. I think I received mine a little while ago now. If anybody's got any questions about the increases, should they contact yourselves or your department?
They would first and foremost go to the customer contact centre, and then the contact centre will be able to distribute the calls to the appropriate departments. So it depends on what the query was about, really, but usually everything gets fielded through the contact centre. So that's just the normal number that people are used to using.
Okay, yeah, and we'll mention that number at the end of the podcast as well for people. One of the questions that I was thinking I might like to ask. There are obviously a number of residents that are in receipt of benefits of some kind or another. Do they need to do anything before the increases take place, or if they perhaps find themselves in difficulty with their rent, what should they do?
So first of all, they do need to let Housing Benefit know that there's going to be a change to their rents. And if people are eligible for full benefits, then hopefully the amount that's being charged would be under that amount and that would be covered. Obviously, that doesn't apply to everybody. Some people don't get full benefits. Some people are in full work. And I think the best thing to do once you receive that letter and understand what that means for your own personal circumstances is to get in touch with your housing officer, or if you're in a supported scheme, speak to the service manager, because there are ways that we can help you. We can look for ways to support you through that, through either external agencies or setting up rent plans, or just discuss the service charges with you and what that means for you, and whether there is anything that we can do around the charges that we're proposing.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think probably, I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but I hope that you sort of go along with me to say that if people do find themselves in difficulty with their rent, then they shouldn't sit back and worry. They should contact somebody as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think the worst thing that people can do is sit on it and lose sleep and get anxiety over being in arrears. We are a social housing provider, and we want people to continue to live in our homes. And if you can have those conversations up front and agree something with us, then it means that there's one less thing for you to worry about. And having a roof over your head is arguably one of the most important things. So please do get in touch with people early and don't wait for the arrears to build up. It's much easier to deal with when they're small amounts rather than waiting till they've grown.
Yeah, good advice there. Thanks, Sam. Mary, do you have any questions of Sam?
Yeah, I do actually. It's not about rent though. I was just wondering about the overall position of Saha financially. So I just wondered whether you could give us an idea of maybe what the plus points are, what the positives are for Saha as an organisation financially, and also the challenges that we might face in the next year.
Yeah, so if I talk about the good things first, and specifically to Saha, we do own a lot of properties throughout the country. We're a national housing provider. We've got a strong balance sheet, which means basically that we've got a lot of assets on the balance sheet and very little debt. So compared to other housing associations, our debt levels are really quite low. We are in a very fortunate position as well that we have access to more debt. We have cash in the bank. So in terms of its financial strength, the balance sheet's really strong. Our annual performance is strong. And that all means that as an organisation, we can all get security that we're going to be around in the long term, but also that we've got the cash and the resources to invest in the properties that we've got now, and also invest in future properties so that we can provide homes to more people. In terms of the negatives, I think most of this is actually sector specific. It's been a very challenging 10 or 15 years, really. As I mentioned earlier, there was the rent cuts about 5 years ago, which meant that housing associations had less money in their future business plans to invest. More recently, the stories that make the headlines, like Grenfell and Awab's Law and things like that, means that as a sector, there's much more investment needed, and that makes getting contractors incredibly difficult. It means that those contractors can charge more because there's higher demand. We've also suffered the impacts, as a lot of sectors have, of Brexit, so less people to work in the sector. So it's a very difficult position to be in as a housing provider, because we want to provide decent homes that are well maintained, but there are external factors that do make that challenging at times.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I think, thank goodness we're financially strong, at least we're not also having to struggle through that. And hopefully, the developments and, sort of refurbishments and so on that we can do will really help our stock. So thank you. Thanks for that.
Another quickie from me, Sam, just about, because you mentioned your part in the sort of head of IT. How's the new website coming on?
Okay, so the website is going to be launched in April. We are potentially looking at rebranding, and so we want to align the new website with the rebranding, which will just mean a different logo, and we'll have the same legal name. And what that will mean for people living in our properties is that they will be able to use that website to make rent payments, to raise repairs, and also make a complaint. So it will develop over time, but we're really looking forward to that going live, and it's just another medium for people to be able to stay in contact with us. So fingers crossed, we're going live in April.
Fantastic. I've been fortunate enough to be involved at sort of fairly low level with the new customer portal as well, and that's actually looking quite good. It's another avenue of information. But as always, I still think that we have to make sure that those people that perhaps are not quite so tech savvy or not available online or whatever still have access to information. And I suppose in that respect, not much is going to change, is it?
No, and we are looking, there's been a couple of incidents or a couple of conversations that we've had internally recently about just making sure that the information that we do send out is accessible to everybody, making sure that it is customer friendly. And I think that the business will work much closer with the customer insight team to make sure that when we are disseminating information, it is accessible to all. So we are certainly trying, but we'll probably still have a little way to go.
Well, these things, as you say, they will develop over time, and yeah, we all know that things do take time to develop, but quite excited myself. What about you, Mary? Anything?
No, not really. Just, looking forward to helping and supporting residents as much as we can to, even to learn how to use the portal. And also, I'm sure we will, of course, be providing information outside of the portal for those people who just would prefer not to use it. But it's great. It's a good development, I think. I think it'd be very useful.
I think so too. I've not got any more questions at the moment. I probably will have when we finish the podcast, as always. But so I think before we sort of say our goodbyes, I did say that we would give the contact number for people just in case they need to get hold of your department or yourself, Sam. So, as you said, it's the normal customer contact point, which is the customer service centre on 0800 970 6363, and you can press option 2 and go straight through if you want. Otherwise, just forget option 2 and just talk to one of the nice people in the customer service centre. Email contact as well available, rent@saha.org.uk, if you want to send a message, even if it's just to say thanks very much. I mean, that always helps, doesn't it?
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be nice.
And on the website at the moment, as I say, you can go to saha.org.uk/request a rent account callback. That is available at the moment. I hope it will still be available when the new site goes up and running. So there we are. Well, that's just about it from me today. So I'm going to actually say my goodbye, and I'm going to ask our guest to say a goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sam. And Mary?
Yes, goodbye, everybody. Let's hope we can invite Sam back maybe in about 6 months' time and see if it's all still as good as it is now. That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Thank you.